Who wants to have all the board games?
We do.
All right, well, are we ready to be millionaires?
Oh, the last few lottery tickets sure haven't panned out.
All right, well, then we better clamp down on these 5 great tips for how we manage getting all of the board games and having all of the fun on this week's Board Game and Coffee. Welcome to Wisco Dice. Hey, yo, folks, I am your host, the Conesy with the Most, and I am joined today by...
Hey, I'm Suzanne.
And today on Board Games and Coffee, we're going to take on a viewer question that was posed to us a little while back on one of these Board Games and Coffee videos. So if you have any questions, make sure you drop a comment below, and we'll maybe feature it on an upcoming episode of Board Games and Coffee as our main topic for our chat. But today, our viewer question was from GameOn_CT, which we'll have a link to his YouTube channel in the description as well below, because he does have a YouTube channel that you can check out all about board games. If you like our stuff and you want to check out another creator in the space, yeah, feel free to do that. But he asks, are you guys millionaires? How do you keep affording all of these games? And that's a great question, and one that we've actually, when he asked that, we responded right away. But we thought, man, that'd be a great topic for Board Games and Coffee. So,
Yes.
when we talk about with the board game collecting and budgets and all of these concepts, we ended up kind of narrowing it down to 5 things that we do.
Yes, because I will say we are definitely not millionaires.
No. We're not. We're well off. Like,
but
it's not, but not millionaires.
We don't have an unlimited gaming budget.
No, I wish.
And we don't have unlimited space to store it all. And if you are like us, we'd love for you to like this video and also subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.
Yeah, make sure you smash that like button.
And leave us a comment after you've watched our video or partway through it that tells us what you do to manage your games and get what you're looking for.
These are obviously not the decisive list of 5 things that everybody should do. These are what we do. But so there's obviously going to be more ideas, and people are going to have thoughts. So we'd love to see that shared down below, because your tips might just be tips that can help out somebody else that's very much in maybe a similar situation as you.
Yeah. So, but before we jump into what our 5 tips are, this is Board Games and Coffee, Conesy.
Yes.
What coffee are you drinking today?
So this is I don't even remember what it is. You know what it is.
Electric Monkey Espresso?
That's what it is.
Gets him really revved up and electrified in the morning.
But we were at our favorite little local coffee shop this morning, Twisted Grounds.
Yes, which is why I have a takeout cup today.
Yep.
I'm still drinking my London Fog from there.
Yes. But I already had caramel...
I don't know what you got.
Something. It was great. It was absolutely delish. I absolutely loved it. But then I had to have something to drink for today, so I made chocolate mocha, and this is actually, I actually followed proper steps and have played with my little new espresso machine. And while the espresso that comes out of this is not nearly as good as what I get from a coffee shop, it is nice to have fun and play with it at home.
Yes, for those of you, I don't know if we announced it, what Conesy's wonderful birthday gift was this year.
I think we said, we didn't actually say what product it is, but I'll put that on screen here. It's Stilosa, DeLonghi's or something like that. But you'll see it's on the screen, the picture of the box. So if you're interested in owning one.
Syrups now and flavorings,
and I haven't done anything to it. It actually makes relatively decent espresso, so for the price point. So it's not a couple $1,000 espresso machine.
Oh no.
Maybe that'll be the next level. someday when I sacrifice a bunch of board game budget. All right, so anyways, coffee aside, what we're drinking aside, let's go ahead and get into these 5 tips for budgeting and being able to manage acquiring an amazing board game collection.
Yes.
And affording it.
Right.
All right. So what's the first one on the list?
The first one, and I think this is one that helps us quite a bit, is that we search for and purchase used games when we can.
Yeah, all the time.
So, yep, and you can get some great deals on barely played games even, too.
Oh, absolutely.
My favorite place...
Most games are barely played these days.
You know, there's so many times where people get a game, and then they realize they just really don't like it, and so they call it right away, and then it's, hey, that's to the rest of our benefit. I like to create a want list at Noble Knight Games online, and get notified when they have those come in. But there's a lot of other places that we do search for and get games.
Well, as a good example of the Noble Knight experience, we recently picked up Earth, which was I guess it was last summer we picked up Earth.
It took a while to get it off the table opportunity.
It was, it was very hard. It was fairly hard to pick up for a while when it first came out. We didn't get a retail copy of it right away, a brand new copy of it. And honestly, I don't think it was on my radar to get a copy. I kept hearing things about it and hearing how it was a really good game. And it definitely was one of 2023's hotter titles. But a copy showed up at Noble Knight, used, went through... I'm sure somebody either played, it was clearly it had been opened up and played, but it was in pristine condition.
Hey, it saved us all the punching.
No, we didn't have to punch it. The copy of the game was in excellent quality, and we picked it up for a significant discount over after, what anybody online was selling them for new. And we were able to experience Earth, but Facebook Marketplace is another great place. I watch that all the time. And you don't have to watch it for hey, where are people selling board games wherever. You can keep it relatively local. We're here in Madison, Wisconsin, so I focus a lot of that on when I'm looking for games, people selling lots of games or whatnot, if they're selling them local to me here in Madison, because then I can cut out shipping costs, right? I don't have to worry about paying for that. That's one of my problems with shopping for used board games on eBay, is that the shipping costs oftentimes...
You better really want that game and have no other way to get it.
I might as well pay MSRP.
Right.
Consignment areas at your local game stores, if they have them. Another excellent spot to find... not necessarily old titles. Oftentimes they're hot titles. People suffer...
what one did you just get? I forget. We just got one at the local game store, and maybe it's not a new title.
Urban Sprawl, which is that's an older title. That's quite an older title. But I got it at a consignment area, and it's a game I've played before and I absolutely love.
Yeah, but there's you can I've seen some great ones there that either we're not in the market for at the time or we already have, but that's always
there's a big attitude in this space about cult of the new is a term that you'll hear, and that's people are constantly trying to acquire new titles. What's the newest, hottest titles, right? They want the newest, hottest titles. Well, that means they got to come up with money for those titles somewhere, which means they're cycling out a lot of, hey, I bought it, I played it, and now I'm getting rid of it after a play or two because maybe it didn't quite scratch that itch that I thought it did because, and a lot of, there's so much FOMO that happens.
Before you've actually tried it or heard people that have had it. So you're relying on content creator reviewers.
Yeah.
To give you their opinions for it and
stuff. Sometimes our opinion is not necessarily what your opinion of a game is going to be, or like I said, it's hey, it showed up on the BGG hotness, so I had to get it before it showed up, because there is a big part of a lot of games that hit that initial print run and then either don't get reprinted, or that are really good games, or that are games that. It's going to be another year or more before they get enough of a print cycle again before they are back in circulation. And so a lot of people will buy and acquire those games right away and then realize, oh, that FOMO, I didn't really want this game anyways, and now they hit that used market, and you can snag a lot of good titles on the used market. Yeah. And of course, you can always have, one last place where you can grab games on the used market is friends, and paying attention to what they're potentially culling. We'll talk about us and our approach to culling in just a bit, but we definitely give our friends first an opportunity to get games out of our Cull collection. So
Yep. Yes. So that was our first tip, and probably the one that we use to get some
Just
good discounts on games is used games.
Yeah.
And then after
Ties into our tip
we-
number 2.
because you still need money to buy the used games.
Yes.
So we have a budget. We have
Exactly.
a monthly budget, and we also have a monthly budget to buy games at the local game stores or wherever we're buying the physical copies of games. And then we have an annual budget for what we can back on crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So we have a couple different budgets there.
And it's really important to set those budgets because then...
And stick to them. As much as you can.
As much as you can, right? I mean, some months are going to be harder than others, but then, as long as... Don't mortgage the house or run up a bunch of credit card debt to buy a lot of games.
And don't set your monthly budget at $10 and then be upset when you go over it when you buy one game for like $50.
Yeah, you got to set a realistic budget, and if that means you're only buying one new title every 3 months, or that means you're buying 2 used titles in that same 3 months, whatever that works out best for you to be able to acquire new titles. That's what you've got to set that budget and then maintain and stick to it. But also, like I said, that we set a yearly crowdfunding budget for each of us that we're comfortable with, and then we have our monthly budget for just random games we pick up, like at the game store, or if we see a great deal online or a used game pops up that's on your watch list. You can be able to feel like, hey, I have the budget. I know I have whatever this $50 to be able to buy this game. I can just click and buy it, or hey, I'm at the store and I feel like I want to support my friendly little game store. I can buy, a game and not feel like, hey, we're not going to be able to eat next week.
Something that's helped our game budget the last couple years is that we're basically empty nesters. Our daughter's starting her last semester of college. She's basically out of the house. Yes, she does come home, thankfully, every now and then to visit us. But she's very independent with her financially. So we are no longer paying for any type of daycare, extracurricular activities. We don't have to dress her, feed her, any of that stuff that you deal with a kid.
The college tuition, the most that we have, I think we pay for is her car insurance and her cell phone bill. So, in the grand scheme of things, we're doing really good when it comes to having to manage the budget for the kids. So
that does make a change.
Yeah, it's amazing how much budget comes back to you when you get to that point if you have children. And if you have children, you know this. And if you don't have children, you'll learn.
Because I will say, initially I was always going, okay, as soon as she's out of daycare, the cost will go down. Nope, they actually did it. It just got dispersed in other ways. And then, okay, once they hit high school, nope, still didn't.
Oh, no. Then the stuff gets more expensive.
After the first year of college, it really...
in our case, it got first year of college, but it's not everybody's case. But sooner or later, hopefully you can be in a position where your children are able to start supporting themselves, and now all of a sudden that budget comes back to you.
Yeah, and so what else don't we do too much?
Well, we don't go on vacation, and I say that meaning what a lot of people think of as a traditional vacation, where you just kind of pack up and maybe leave for a week or an extended weekend and just go see some place or travel maybe to a different country or something like that. Everything that we do that's like travel or kind of vacation orientated is very centered on board games. We haven't actually been on a personal vacation where it was not board game related in 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
So a lot of that. There's also not a savings pool for doing that, really. That budget for vacations and stuff like that, we talked about, I think when we talked about our 2024 goals, one of my goals is to go to 12 conventions this year. Well, that means hotel stays. If we're talking about going to Gen Con, that's more expensive than us going to, say, Europe for a week. There's a lot of things like that happen. So that vacation budget is actually just rolled into us doing board game activities.
Yeah.
But also that means, hey, I'm not necessarily, our big vacation budget's burnt on Gen Con typically, so but are like maybe a little like somebody might take like, hey, I have a little weekend trip, or we're going to take a 3-day trip to Vegas or something like this. We just
don't do
roll
that.
that budget into doing tabletop gaming related activities.
Yeah, and maybe we will. Maybe that'll be our 2025 resolution.
Well, I think in 2025, hopefully, knock on wood, it's really early, but hopefully there might be a trip to Europe for Essence
Oh,
Spiel.
well, see, then that's a for a game-related vacation.
Yes, but it'd be board
Like,
game.
I guess when we've talked about
We
going
might
to
extend
Las
that-
Vegas, it's related to the LVO.
Yeah,
tournament
we were like,
and
hey,
stuff.
well, we can knock off 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll go out for a convention that's tabletop gaming oriented, and we'll be in Vegas for 3 days.
Yes. So, what is another thing that we don't do that we see lots of couples doing?
Oh, date nights. Date nights are.
We have date nights.
We
We
do.
have a monthly date
But
night.
our date nights are typically like we go to dinner,
Yeah, we
a
go to
reasonable dinner,
Yeah, reasonable. Yeah.
maybe a drink, maybe not. We are in Wisconsin, and well,
But we still
we
have
drink.
to drive.
And then it almost 100% of the time.
Yep.
It's kind of since we first started dating.
Yep.
A date night is we have something to eat. We may do something like go to Old Gardens here in town, or some
That's
other
when we
go
first
see it
started
around,
dating.
or whatever, and then we go to the game store.
Yep. We've cut out the
We've
middle
cut out
part.
we cut out the middle part. So, although if there is a good movie or something like that in the theaters, we might go see a
Maybe.
movie. But
But-
like we've kind of cut that out too.
Date night is go out to eat, go to the game store, get a game, and
Come
then
home.
came home, probably play that game or another game if we're not
Yep.
too tired by then, because we're
Yeah, we're old.
well. I mean,
We're
sometimes
older.
it can be a little bit later.
The dog
so.
insists that the dog wants to be in bed by 8:32. So.
Oh yes, she will whine and whine and whine until you go to bed at 8:30.
So that's tip number 2. So those
Yes.
are things that we do. The biggest thing to take away from tip number 2 is knowing and establishing what budget works for you. So let's move on to tip number 3.
Tip number 3 is our annual cull.
Yes. So every year at the end of the year, we wrap up all of our board game stats, and both of us are logging our games we've played, the games we're liking, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of new games that we get exposed to every year. Probably, 50 to 150 new titles every year that we get exposed to that are just not necessarily games we own, but we look at everything that we've played in the past year, and we usually kind of look at it and think about it from not only this year but also maybe the last year or two. Because we do have a larger collection of games, and we don't want to just rule out maybe, hey, this is a title that we haven't been playing for this year, but maybe it was a title that we played a lot the year before, and it just
for some reason.
and we really liked it, so we're not ready to move away from it. But we do take a hard look at our collection once a year, and we typically drop it by
10 to 20.
20 to 50 titles. That's board games and expansions. That's a
but
lot
I
of
guess when you
games.
count like the expansions, yes. So
That is a lot of titles that get cleared out of our collection, and we'll have an upcoming video that we'll talk about our year annual call at some time in the very near future. But it's in the planning works, so we have it all prepped, so it's going to get released anyway. So you'll be able to see that and find out what games we decided to call this year. And there's not any bad titles there. It's just that we need to make space. One, there's only so much space to store them. But 2, these are games that just are not getting back to the table. For whatever reason, they were popular at one time when we bought them, or we were excited about them for some reason or not, and they're not anymore. They're not, and if they're not getting played, let's get them out of our collection. Let's get them to somebody else who is interested in playing them, and let's turn that into an opportunity to get some extra cash back to us that we can feed in as bonus funds to our standard monthly budgets for board games. So
yes, so those the funds from our annual call, as they come in, we just add it. It's a bonus money that gets reinvested into games. And some of these annual call games also, we're getting rid of them because with our gaming groups, we may not be games to table, not be something that they're not interested in, and they don't always play well at a 2-player. So they're just, they're great. They're just not great for us at the time.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some really good titles that we've cleared out that I kind of wish I never got rid of, because I know those titles are worth a good chunk of money. But at the same time, it was like, this game's never getting to the table. It's never getting to the table. I can't think of the name of the one of those titles that we called a couple of years ago, but it was like our call that year was like $600 or $700, and it was off like there was probably 3 or 4 fairly high value games on the market that made up that $600 or $700.
But
And
they just weren't getting to the table.
yeah, Shadows of Camelot, that's the game. Like,
yes,
we've played it. We played it at Gen Con once. It was.
And we played it as a 2-player once, but I think you need to have.
I don't think we played it as a 2-player.
Yeah, we did.
No, I don't think so.
Oh yes.
All right.
We started doing it. We went to this mine
I don't know.
type
I don't
thing.
think it's. I think it's 3 players.
Yes, but one of us was playing. We were trying to figure out how to play it, and one of us was 2 players.
We didn't actually play it then,
but
because it's a hidden trader game.
Well, whatever. We tried playing it. It didn't work.
So, for obvious reasons, then. But we did play it at a Gen Con, and neither of us were really taking that back from it, of being like, "Ooh, this is such a great game." I see why people like it a lot, but in comparison, I also have a Battlestar Galactica for Fantasy Flight Games in the collection. Well, in comparison to that, which does the exact same thing, but way, in my opinion, way better.
Well,
Shadows of Camelot was an easy one to call out of the collection.
the theme for
And
Battlestar
get that-
Galactica goes over better with your game.
Well, it's not just that
too.
you haven't played the game, so
No,
it's a much
theme
more
also is
rich
more-
and deeper mechanical game than
Sure.
Shadows of Camelot, in my opinion. So but the story
Oh
is
wait,
here.
Shadows over Camelot, not Shadows of Brimstone?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, Shadows of Brimstone is one I was thinking of.
Yeah, but that was also another one.
Sorry.
Yeah, like I told you, we didn't play this one.
All right.
So we didn't play Shadows of Brimstone at Gen Con.
No, we did not. I remember playing the other one at Gen Con.
All right.
Anyway.
Ben 2, Suzanne 0.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, one thing that we have mentioned, a recurring theme for us with these tips, does keep bringing up our friends. So our 4th tip
is have friends.
So, or have gaming friends. Maybe do nothing else but game with them. Okay.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that I only see them at the game table at various gaming get-togethers.
Yeah. So your friends can buy games too. You don't
Surprisingly.
have to have all of the games. We don't necessarily have all of the games. We play games that our friends either bring over to our place or we go to theirs, wherever. Meet up at game nights and, the game stores and stuff. So they help foot the cost of our experiences playing games.
Yeah, I mean, a recent example of that is Hegemony, which made your top 5 games of 2023 linked above. Yeah, it's not a game we own. It's not in our collection. We might add it to our collection,
Maybe.
but we'll acquire it. If we do, we'll acquire it used. Tip number 1.
Yep.
But it was a great opportunity to have a friend and say, hey, we know you have this game. We know you really want to get it to the table. We really want to play it. Let's just make that happen. And we made it happen, and we got to enjoy this great game, and it made your top 5 games of 2023 because you had such a great experience with it. I had an okay experience with it. I really think it's a great game. Like, mechanically, I think it's a great game. My experience at that session
it did
was
not work so well
like,
for you.
Like, I think I'll do much better the next play.
I'm sure you will. But like we did that, I think in the last year we played Hegemony like that. We had Boone Lake, which I was really excited to try, but it was not in our budget to get brand new. And then, what was the witch one that we just played?
I don't know. It'll be on the screen. Anyways, that's just 3 titles that we played recently.
That we
this in the past year.
Own, but it didn't work out for us to own.
We're all great titles that we just somebody else we knew. But so, whether that's having friends that you like go to their houses, and they have like 3 or 4 friend groups that have maybe different people that show up at these game nights that they organize and run, and we show up at and we're invited to. But so it's a great opportunity for us to cycle through and play games in other people's collections. But it's also, we have a lot of like local meetups or gaming groups that do organized group gameplay at either friendly local game stores or bars or coffee shops.
Just other public gathering spaces.
Yeah, public spaces.
Yeah.
Like the board games and beer group that they run organized meetups at, like Garber Feed Mill here in town and a couple other places. So it's a great opportunity where there's a fairly decent group, or like we run at last Friday every month at Misty Mountain Games, our meetup.
Yeah, we have an awesome group that shows up there. Super friendly, super great, friendly to new gamers too.
Yeah, and we've had several titles that have showed up there that we don't know.
Yes, and some that we do but haven't made off our shelf of opportunity.
Yep.
So we get to play them and go, my gosh, this was good.
So there's lots of opportunities to, I guess the moral of the story when we say have friends, so there's lots of opportunities to play a lot of additional games without necessarily having to own them personally.
Yes.
So don't feel like you have to be under the pressure to buy everything, especially if you're the kind of person who only plays the games that they buy maybe one or two times and then moves on to the next new game.
Yep.
Let somebody else buy some of those new games for you.
Yes. Some gamers really enjoy playing, have a small collection of games that they play repeatedly and can master those games. And have tried so many different strategies. We like to try new games and compare them to other games, and so oftentimes we only play them like a handful of times a year, but liking to try new things. So, liking to try new things and the hottest games comes. It brings us to our last point. What is
crowdfunding? And we call this point, and we put emphasis to crowdfunding because. Besides just doing annual budgeting that we do, so we each have how much we're allotted to spend typically a year on crowdfunding without having to have a conversation with each other about the particular project and if we have budget for it. There are a number of things with crowdfunding that you can do to manage that better, because FOMO, fear of missing out, is a real thing. I suffer from it very badly. She's like, yep, yeah, that's him. I own it. I know I'm definitely one of those people that has to have everything. I'm a classic collector. I need to have everything for a game, everything, and it's become more and more evident as I continue to get into board games that oftentimes what ends up happening is I end up with a game with all of the extra stuff, all in. Yeah, let's go all in. Click on crowdfunding.
Yep.
There goes the entire budget on one game, and I get all the stuff.
Don't know if it's any good yet.
Have no idea if it's any good or if I'm going to like it.
If it's even going to get funded and shipped to you.
Get it home. It finally ships. Finally shows up. You get this like 45 pounds or 50 pounds or 25 pounds of games and expansions and boxes, and it's all shiny and you're excited. You play it once, it goes on the shelf, and then it just sits there, and you've only played the base game. So the moral of that is that I'm telling you, you don't have to back at all in. Back at, like, if you're like me and you're probably going to play the game once or twice, if you're going to back a project because it's something you're really excited about, back it at the base game level. Force yourself to do that. That'll definitely stretch your ability to back more games because you're backing each game that you back at lesser level, making sure that you hit whatever budget you have allotted for yourself. You can now spread that out a bit more.
Yeah, because like a lot of them, as you add on the extras, it's, hey, you have metal coins. Well, gosh, I have metal coins for 5 other games right now. I can just use them if I need to.
Metal coins are definitely...
Yes, it does make an upgrade. And a lot of times you can back up that base level to get your pledge in. And then as the campaign progresses and it gets closer to locking in everything, they usually have an opportunity for you to do add-ons. And you can decide then if you really want to add those on. One thing I have noticed though, especially the last 6 months, I guess I should say, for crowdfunding projects that I've been interested in, I have been checking out the crowdfunding sites and just scrolling through my Facebook feed and everything to see what is coming soon to crowdfunding, signing up for their newsletters. On To Death Do Us Part, which is just going to be a silly, crazy game, I think, it gave me a huge discount for my deluxe pledge. Like, huge. If you signed up early and then you backed it on day one. And other ones, like Galactic Cruise, which is I think my most anticipated game of 2024 right now.
Another video that's on the docket to be done here soon.
Yes, but you guys got a sneak peek now. You know what my most anticipated game is. But that one, if you're following the campaign, they're having little lottery type things that you can sign up for and you get a little discount and you could win a larger amount of a discount on the game. So just doing that type of thing.
There are a lot of opportunities as well, on top of following a game before it, before it's a full blown project on crowdfunding that like Suzanne's talking about, but also day one backing on a game. If you've done your research, like Suzanne's talked about, and you've followed a game, and then you're a day one backer, oftentimes there's early bird specials, and if you can snag an early bird special on a game, you can quite often get yourself a substantial discount on that project as well. Because most of the time, when the games go through crowdfunding, you're, other than getting stretch goals, you're getting the game at full MSRP.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to have to pay shipping on top of that.
Yeah.
So by the time you're done, you've paid more for that game than you would have if it would have showed up at your friendly local game store. Unfortunately, a lot of games that go through crowdfunding these days don't actually show up at the friendly local game store, just because there's just not enough production copies made for whatever reason. The crowdfunding only goes so far, and I've talked to publishers that are like, yeah, I mean, I got a couple $100,000 off of crowdfunding that made my print run 4,000 copies more than I was expecting or whatever. But then, 4,000 copies with what the distributors wanted, I was out of games like that, and now I don't have any games to really bring to cons or anything like that. And you're like, well, why didn't you print more copies? Well, there was no more money to print copies.
Yep. Yes.
So until you get those copies sold and you get some of that revenue coming in to be able to then pay for the next print run, or you have to go back and now run another Kickstarter or crowdfunding project to help pay for that next,
which is a lot
15,000 copy print run or whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for the game designers to do these crowdfunding campaigns and everything.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine going to a banker and being like, "Yeah, I need $300,000 for you to finance my company to print a bunch of board games." Like, what is that conversation like? I have no idea. I'm not in that shoes. I know publishers that do that, but those publishers are also fairly well established. They didn't launch their companies on being able to go to the bank to get that initial funds for being able to print or reprint their game.
Yes. So anyway, those are our 5 tips or 5 items that we do to help us acquire as many board games as we can in the year.
Isn't a small number.
No.
We'll probably increase the collection, including expansions, somewhere around 100 to 150 copies this year.
Yes.
That's our average.
That's our average, but anyways, we'd love to hear what your tips are and what you do to make sure that you can get the games that you are looking forward to and get to play, or at least get to play them in this coming year.
Yeah, we absolutely appreciate that. But also make sure that if you haven't yet, like and subscribe. We appreciate that very much. It goes a long way to helping us. And thank you all for watching.
Yeah.
Hey there, it's Conesy. Thank you so much for watching. We put out videos weekly here at Wisco Dice. Check out our channel for more great videos, and don't forget to subscribe. We also have more great content on our website at wiscodice.com. Of course, we do this all for you, the viewers. So please like the video if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.